Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Ben Reichley.
Hey, you really hit that one right out of the park, world's greatest producer.
On the other hand, I agree with Kevin. It is the Mark and Ben show on a Monday, generally.
Well, I know it is, but it's more fun just to give Kevin a little jazz, as they used to say.
They don't say, here is on the Ellen, what's her name, DeGeneres show. They don't say, here's Enzo's Ferrari. They say, it's the Ellen DeGeneres show. DeGeneres show. I have no idea what I'm talking about this morning. Don't record that, Kevin,
This is On the Mark, and On the Mark is normally Ben Reichley and Mark. What's Mark's last name?
Lawrence, I believe.
Normally they do the show on Monday, but Mark's on vacation. I don't know where Ben is. Do you know?
I don't know where Ben is, but I do know Mark is at the St. Lawrence waterway.
Oh, is he?
Because he was named after that.
I see. He named after St. Lawrence or the waterway?
The waterway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he's all wet?
I think I'm all wet myself. I have no idea why he's named Lawrence.
Anyway, I'm Joe McGranaghan. With me is Than Mitchell, and Than and I will be doing the program for today and the next 3 days after this.
That's right.
And Friday you and Ben will be in, because Mark's on vacation, and I'm normally here on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you're normally here on Wednesdays, so it was just easiest to bring us in back together again for the 4 days. On the Mark is brought to you by the Sunbury Motor Company, a family-owned dealership since 1915. 4 streets in Sunbury, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. You can find out a lot more about them at www.sunburymotors.com. You can go on the internet and build your own Ford, which they will be happy to get for you and deliver, bring it right to you if you need it brought to you.
Absolutely.
They take very good care of you at Sunbury Motors. And don't forget, they sell Ford, Hyundai, and Kia, as well as Lincoln cars, and they're the premier.
Actually, it's Hyundai, like Sunday.
Hyundai. What did I say? Hyundai?
Yes.
It's so easy to do that, isn't it?
Hyundai.
As I've said before, they had a commercial.
Thank you very much.
Maybe about 5 years ago that they did on Super Bowl Sunday, and they said Hyundai, like Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, phonetically it's written here that way, but
phonetically it's wrong.
No, it's written Hyundai here.
Oh, okay.
But I read the I with an umlaut over it, Hyundai. But forgive me, to all of you Hyundai owners, it is a Hyundai, not a Hyundai.
Here's my bet. If you go to Sunbury Motors and say, I want a Hyundai,
they'll sell
they're not going to argue names.
Give me an Hyundai, will you please?
I'll tell you what, it's a great car, so it lives up to both names.
It does indeed, as do all the cars sold by Sunbury Motor Company. And remember, too, that they sell all kinds of cars and trucks of all sizes, and are a master towing service with decades of experience. We have an open day today, which means our email in basket is available for you to send us an email on any topic or comment you may have. The Lenape Solar email in basket is brought to you as always by Lenape Solar. That would make sense, wouldn't it?
I would think that was redundant. The Department of Redundancy Department.
Well, we want to make certain people understand that Lenape Solar is, in fact, bringing you the email in basket. They're at 140 South 2nd Street in Sunbury. Find them on the web at www.lenapesolar.com or call them at 570-286-1496. At Lenape Solar, they invite you to harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow. We have a toll-free hotline number, 1-800-795-9565, if you want to give us a call on that. Or you are welcome to check us out on the webcam, which Kevin Herr, the world's greatest engineer, who has awards floating around in outer space.
Well, so do you, Joe. I keep hearing Mark telling me you got this award from the Broadcasters Association. I figure you just throw all your awards in outer space, and it will reflect down on Earth, and Lenape Solar can make even more electricity.
I hang mine on the walls of my office at home, so if you, I don't want to send them in outer space. Too hard to retrieve them than to look at them. Some are in a box in the attic, however. But
well, yeah, there's that. The trophies from my old racing days, I found them many years ago in a dog food bag and thought, wow, this is nice.
Well, you can check us out on the webcam. It is up and running. Kevin has it working today, and I see your distinguished visage over there.
Does that doesn't mean bald head, does it?
No, it's my bald head.
I think we look like the front of a 1957 Cadillac bumper, but that's
it's a lot of chrome.
Yeah, a lot of chrome. Yeah.
Oh, you're asking for it, buddy.
Yeah, our adequate producer over there. Semi-adequate.
I shoot for adequate. Anything else, then I feel I was very successful. I mean, why set the bar so high you can't attain it? At least have a goal you can reach.
I did that in. Are all the kids in school today? I don't want to tell them this.
Yes,
that's what I did
in
in high school. Is I maintained a C average because they wanted you to do a lot more if you got an A. At C, they'd say, hey, he's too dumb to do it.
Were they gentlemen C's, that they gave you because you were part of the Good Old Boy Network, or did you earn those C's?
No. I earned the C's. I was not a popular kid in school.
Well, I earned my D's, too.
Yeah, we had girls in school who did that, as a matter of fact, earned D's. But that's a whole other story. We'll talk about this.
I don't even know if I want to touch that.
Don't touch it.
But hey, I got something here that I wanted to bring up.
That's what I wanted to talk about. What are we going to talk about?
Well, I think Kevin will be interested in this, too, because yesterday, you watch the football games, and after the Eagles' poor performance in the first half, there were some boos as they went into halftime. And now fans attending men's college soccer games in New England are expected not to boo if they don't like something on the field, according to a recent letter sent out by the New England Small College Athletic Conference. And this is a quote from the letter. As a supporter, we ask you not to engage in any unsportsmanlike actions which include booing, taunting, profanity, rude language or gestures, and any other action that could potentially be construed as negative or confrontational. That's according to the NESCAC letter. The group called for a similar policy in 2011, asking that game officials firmly address issues of unsporting behavior and negative action. I can hear him blowing the whistle. Oh, you made a negative gesture. 5-yard penalty on your team.
That's a silly story.
The letter signed by 11 conference coaches continues, quote, we would hope that all spectators refrain from antagonistic interaction between opposing fans, including verbal disputes or holding, posting signs, or other forms of written material that could be interpreted as offensive in nature. How about that?
Actually, they do something similar in before every high school or college game as well. They have a fan message, we'll call it.
A fan message.
Yes. Asking you.
Well, here, let me read it. In the PIAA, let's see. I believe this is the
you want us to fill with something else while you find that?
No. I thought I had the message, but it's a message that's read by officials to coaches and captains at the coin toss of a football game, we'll say, for example. But I'm trying to find the one they read in the stadium as well.
Well, I can agree with part of it. But part of it, I think, goes way over the edge.
Which one? Which part? Asking somebody to be respectful of your opponent is over the edge?
No,
wow.
Come on.
Wow.
Booing is a tradition. If you don't like something, you
boo people.
Do you boo?
No.
You never
good
boo.
Heavens, no.
Boo. You never go like that. Boo.
That's extremely disrespectful.
To whom?
I'll do it in a pro game, though.
You will? You'll boo?
Yeah. I mean, they're getting paid to play the sport. And they're getting paid to play the sport much better than I can. So I feel as though as a ticket holder and purchasing that ticket that's partially paying their salary.
I'm not talking about booing the kids because they're out there and doing their best. But I have heard officials booed. I have heard coaching decisions
booed.
Sure,
I've heard all that. It's very disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. So how about if I held up a sign that said, with all due respect, boo?
I think that
be
would.
All right?
Oh, that might help. Of course. Listen, I don't mean to offend you, but man, you're bald. I'm holding up a sign saying I didn't mean to offend you.
Well, I mean, I can agree with profanity, rude language, maybe a gesture, certainly.
Other than that,
I don't think you should give people the finger. But booing and taunting, we used to have a cheer. Push them back, shove them back, way back. That's taunting the other side.
Well, okay, but that's a cheer. We know what it is, and the other team is doing the same thing. I just say, tell me what the penalty is for booing, and then I'll tell you whether I'll worry about it.
Well, it doesn't say here about what the penalty
might be.
Yeah,
there's no penalty. They're asking you to be respectable. If you're not, you're the dingbat.
What's going to happen if I'm not? What's going to happen to
Nothing.
me?
Nothing's going to happen to you except people around you will look at you and say, that person has no class.
Well, it says I can't have antagonistic interaction with opposing fans. You and I have antagonistic interaction on various issues every time we do this program together.
But don't forget.
Should we sit here and say, well, yes, then you may have a valid point, but quite frankly, I beg to disagree. How many people would want to hear that?
We both do that. I respect what you think, and
Yeah, but you don't say it like you do, and sometimes
No,
I don't say it
sometimes
like
I
you
say
do
you-
either.
I was with
You dummy. You
I was
dummy.
with John Yingling for a short while yesterday, and we were recalling our program that we did on MLP years
Point,
ago.
counterpoint, takeoff.
Yeah, it was both sides,
Right.
and we took turns doing the argument, and we called each other names, but it was Saturday Night Live, which I've never seen, but I do know some of the stuff.
Yes,
And
Jane, you ignorant.
yeah, yep. And that's what we called each other. But we would sit down and talk about what we were going to discuss. And I'd say, how about this? And John would say, no, we agree too much. We got to try something else.
But unless it's totally out of hand at a sporting event, it's part of the culture of a sporting event. I mean, I have gone to sporting events. I remember going to a Shikellamy game once, Shikellamy and Selinsgrove, and I think it may have been the first year Selinsgrove beat Shikellamy, and I was videotaping for my high school band. And I heard the Shikellamy fans, who were very upset about being behind at this point, urging the team to greater effort, perhaps even becoming more physical in their play. I won't use the exact words, but that's part of the game. That's part. People get wound up. They get emotional. They get excited. They want to see their team win. They want to
Wonderful.
support the kids.
Nobody is bringing in the police and taking you out of the stadium because you boo. They're saying, would you mind being respectful to our opponents? And you're saying, I will not.
I will be respectful to them. If they win, I'll congratulate them.
But you'll boo them if they make a score.
Well, no, I didn't say I don't boo them if they make a score. I might boo my own team if they let them make the score.
Okay. Yeah, Kevin, you're the guy that attends the football games.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a lot of booing in high school games?
That what Joe mentioned with officials, I think, is more prominent than anything else.
I've never heard them boo the kids.
No, and I don't hear that often, at least by performance booing. We'll call it in college games. Now, every once in a while, in a rivalry game in college, as the one team comes out, there'll be a boo. But I'm sorry, that's because it's a rivalry game. It's not because they want them. They think they're bad or anything like that. It's just there's something different about that. When you're booing a play or performance, that's a little bit different than booing a team as they come out because it's a rivalry game. I think that's part of the fun, and I know people will disagree with this completely. That's fun. That's part of the fun of a football rivalry. You don't wish anything bad to the opposing team, but you
might.
I don't think that happens.
You don't want the
not out
quarterback to
loud.
be
No,
hurt or anything.
no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's an intent there that in a boo on a play or performance that isn't there when the team comes out in a rivalry game.
If it were a debating society match, I would expect there to be a certain level of decorum maintained that perhaps exceeds that at football games.
I would expect, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I could see.
Can
this
you
kind of-
imagine that? That sounds entertaining.
At a debate, you boo the guy who made the that would be out of place and out of character. But sporting events are boisterous affairs. I mean, people scream, they cheer.
Well,
they
nobody
yell, they
heckles a
stand up.
diver when they're ready to dive.
Or
Did you
a
ever
golfer
notice
when
that?
they're ready to putt.
Yeah. But all I'm saying is this is a toothless thing that says respect the other team.
Then
They're
why-
not going to arrest
Then
you.
why
They're
do
not
it?
going to
Why put it out and make themselves subject of ridicule?
only
I'm
ridicule from
ridiculing.
you. And the rest of us say that's good. I think we should be respectful. And it's like I'm a great racing fan, and I absolutely got upset when there are fistfights in any sports, but I understand that. I understand why people might boo when they get really upset. The adrenaline is rushing in you. And if somebody arrested you, I'd be on your side right down the
like
line.
that-
If they kicked you out of the stadium,
It's like that old
I'd be
joke.
on your side.
I was watching a fight yesterday, and a hockey game broke out.
It used to be in NASCAR. That kind of was the way it was.
Well, I mean, all right. So there's that NASCAR culture. Would it be that culture if that didn't exist? Would hockey be hockey if it was such a civil game? How many people would be going to hockey if it was a very civil a gentlemanly sport where one did not body check their opponent as hard as they could into the
It's adrenaline
plexiglass.
level, isn't it? I think the adrenaline level gets very high in our body, our testosterone level, particularly in men, and then we explode. The explosion is generally and hopefully meaningless. You get over it really quickly. I know in watching a stock car race, I can see people throw their helmets at the other guy because he pushed him into the wall, and the next time you see them walking along with their arms around each other's shoulder because they've come down.
Are greater than that. Sometimes the consequences are far more significant.
Terribly,
up in New York.
terribly so.
We'd like your comments on this. If you agree with either one of us or disagree with us both, 1-800-795-9565 is our toll-free hotline number. Email us at onthemark@wkok.com. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
No, we're back on the mark.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm questioning you. You have not heard that if you sneeze, your soul escapes from your body, and when people say "God bless you," they're reinstalling your soul.
No, I didn't.
I'll be darned.
I thought that was polite.
That was from your tradition.
I always thought it was because when you sneeze, your heart stops beating momentarily.
Actually, you
Really?
can't. You can't sneeze with your eyes open.
I never tried.
Oh, don't try.
I want to.
I think you might end up with your eyes permanently open or something like that.
Now you're put something in my head I don't want there.
Well, when you're driving, don't sneeze because you're gonna squeeze your eyes shut for certain.
Well, I try not to sneeze while I'm driving. I found, this is another unusual discussion, I've never found putting your finger under your nose did anything in particular to stop a sneeze.
Well, no. I actually, that does work for me.
Does it?
Yeah, for some reason. Sometimes I have to almost lift myself off the floor with my finger to do it.
Now, you may wonder what this discussion is about, considering when we left you nice folks, we were talking about behavior at sporting events. I sneezed right before we came back on the air.
And I said, I
God
put
bless
your
you.
soul back, and he said, I never heard that before, and I was interested.
And away we went.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
I want to go back. You were talking about fans booing the opposing team or the officials, and I want to go back. At the high school level especially, I don't see it as far as players are concerned. Now, once in a while at a basketball game, you'll see the student section hold up a newspaper as the opposing team is introduced. I'm sorry.
What would that be for? What would the significance
Disrespect.
be?
Yeah, but
Well, what's the newspaper? Is it the newspaper headline or just
no,
holding up a paper?
No, it's just holding up something and ignoring the
Oh, I see.
introduction
I'm
of the
reading.
opposing
I'm sorry.
team.
Don't have time.
Now, I do not see that as disrespect. I see that as just a little bit of fun against the opposing team. I don't see that as a disrespect. I don't hear
I think
booing.
it's funny.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
It's disrespectful, but funny.
But I don't think it's not disrespectful with with a malicious intent. How's that?
I think I agree with
Is
you.
disrespect never malicious or always malicious?
It depends on circumstance,
I think,
like
I
so
think
many
there's some
things.
fun in it. I think there's some fun in it in this case.
That's my whole point about this. What these doing? You go to those games to have fun. I don't think I'm sure there are people who go to games and get drunk in professional sports where they sell beer and things at the stadium.
That's terrible. Not getting drunk, that's up to you. But disrupting the whole game is
people who are.
terrible.
My point was that people who are inebriated often don't make wise decisions.
Oh, really?
People who are sober don't make wise decisions at games. I can tell you that.
Yeah, usually they're the coaches.
But you know, at a professional game, it's different in my mind. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I've always felt in a professional game, I'm going to boo a player who makes a bad play or consistently makes a bad play or has performed poorly.
In a professional game.
In a professional game, because they're paid to do the sport at a high quality level, and part of my ticket fee goes to their salary. That's the way I view it.
Would you boo at a college game?
No.
Why?
I would not boo at a college game.
They're all there trying to get NFL contracts, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're not being paid to play. They are getting a scholarship. They are getting a scholarship to play. I'm not. No. I don't want to get into that argument. That's a different argument now. But what I'm saying is they're not. They're doing it because they enjoy playing football, and not because they're going to get a paycheck at the end of the day for that football play. Now, are they getting a scholarship? Yes, that's a completely different topic now. I don't want to get and I don't want to skew off onto that. And especially at the high school level, there's absolutely no way I would boo. Now, have I booed a call that I felt was wrong? I don't know that I would say I booed a call that was wrong. I may have felt that the call was wrong and have voiced an opinion on the call being wrong, but I don't know that I've booed a call being wrong.
Well,
I can remember
we had when I was growing up and going to high school in Harrisburg, I was in the William Penn High School band, and I can remember there was one official at football games that we always thought had it in for William Penn. And he would make some what I considered to be bad decisions, and those in the band with me considered them to be bad calls, and we would boo him. Nothing bad happened to us.
No, that's the thing.
It was disrespectful to him. I mean, I should have said, held up a sign saying, "With all due respect, have your glasses checked."
But as someone who's officiated youth events, I will say this: I find it funny when somebody does boo or argue with me.
I see.
And you have to, and if you don't have a thick skin and take it that way, you shouldn't even be an official or an umpire or a referee.
Well, years ago in my madcap youth, for a number of years, I was the soapbox derby director in Chambersburg when we lived there.
Oh, that's a downhill
and it was
job.
It was. You know, and it was great working with the kids. The parents, not so great.
Oh, my goodness. You know, let me go off and say I worked at a racetrack for 15 years, a little dirt track where there were a lot of kids racing from the age of about 6 or 7 up till school, college age and above. And the parents were the problem. The kids almost never were.
Well, here's one. We have a comment. Said, "Are you talking about the Eagles?" And I was talking about the Eagles yesterday when some people were booing them with their when they went in for halftime. He says, "You have to be nuts to cheer for the other team at an Eagles game. Last year, a state policeman and his daughter had beer spilled on them and vomit. That is unusual. They have a judge in the building to handle bad behavior."
Yeah, they used to do that in the basement of the stadium. They used to have somewhat of a courtroom there, I would say, an arraignment, we'll put it that way, that they would have in the basement of the stadium.
And Robert sends us a note saying, "A few years ago, I got to go to a Red Sox-Tigers game on a Friday night at historic Fenway Park. The fans were so disrespectful and rowdy that it ruined the experience for my family. People were screaming profanities. There were fights in the stands. We will never go back. I also used to attend Penn State football games in the 70s and 80s, and we would welcome the opposing fans and invite them to tailgate with us. The last time I went to a game at Beaver Stadium, a group of drunk Penn State fans were taunting fans from the opposing school. I was embarrassed for the whole Penn State community and the actions of those jerks."
And don't forget, it is those jerks. It's not Penn State that's doing that. But Penn State should make the statement, "Gee, we'd like to have you be respectful of our opponents."
I believe they have I think there is a message that's read over the PA before
I would
the game
be pretty
starts.
sure of that.
I think the NCAA has a standard message. But I'll tell you, here's another one. I was in a Penn State night game near the Ohio State fan base section in the corner of the end zone. And, you know, there were some fun tongue-in-cheek kind of rivalry comments back and forth when a big play happened. Nothing violent or menacing or anything with malice intent. After the game, we all kind of had a chuckle, a laugh as we walked out, and I said, "Well, there's one thing we can agree on. We both dislike Michigan."
Well, you know, go back to that last comment about people drunk and fighting in the stands. And tailgating, I assume, has an alcoholic component to it, does it not?
Sometimes.
A beef and alcohol, usually, yeah.
Okay. That kind of fuels, perhaps, this taunting and the bad behavior. A lot of people who would not normally behave poorly at events like this, their inhibitions are gone after a few beers and some barbecue. and they do some things maybe they would regret later on. But the type of taunting I'm talking about, that's serious stuff there. The alcohol-fueled taunting. And
that's dangerous stuff.
Yeah, that's
You're
dangerous.
talking about simply booing the other team.
Going to the game and having fun. I mean, boo the ref, boo the other team.
But you're so exercised about this, and all they're doing is saying, please be respectful. They're not going to throw you in prison for booing. They're not going to throw you out of the game for booing. They're just saying, please,
this is
make us happy.
This is so unantagonistic. They've at least followed their own advice. We would hope that all spectators refrain from antagonistic interaction between opposing fans.
Half of us don't know what that means exactly.
Excuse me, sir. I see you're voting for the other team. I'm not going to antagonistically interact with you today.
But you do look silly, and your mother dresses you funny. Yeah, I think you're overreacting to just a very, very quiet little statement saying, make our community, our college, our high school proud by not being a jerk.
But by not specifying what kind of behavior they consider to be bad, they are in effect banning everything or asking everything to be banned. Said by
it's not banning anything. They're asking.
Holding up signs or other forms of written material that could be interpreted as offensive in nature. Whose interpretation?
They're not going to arrest
Whose interpretation?
you. Who cares? All they're going to say
why
is,
put it out?
Joe's a jerk. He's holding up a sign. That's all you get.
See, that's bad because you just called me a name.
Well, I didn't. It was an official
you might as well
that called
boo
you
me.
that.
Oh, now you've antagonized him.
We've had antagonistic interaction here this morning.
But you know what? I do understand the emailer's point, and I've taken my son to games a year when he was a lot younger, and he learned a new language that I wasn't really comfortable with him learning at that time. And I do think you have to have a little bit of common sense as a fan in the way you, let's say, voice your displeasure over a play call or a call by an official. I think there's a way to do it. You can boo the official without losing control and do it in a way that does not is not harmful to younger ears. How about that?
That's good.
How about that? Putting it that way.
My opponent this morning on the Mark is Than Mitchell.
Boo!
We'll take a break.
In this corner, Than Mitchell.
We'll
other corner, Joe McGranaghan.
We'll take a break, and we'll be back with more of On the Mark on WKOK Radio, Sunbury, Pennsylvania. It's 9 o'clock.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. The economy's doing better by most accounts, but some of the nation's best and brightest minds see dark days ahead for American workers. Live to CBS News correspondent Vicki Barker.
America's wealth gap is unsustainable, and the authors of a survey of nearly 2,000 Harvard Business School alumni say U.S. corporate leaders owe it to themselves and to their country to try to close it. How to turn that tide? Beef up America's education system and its infrastructure, and, along the way, mend a political system the authors suggest is broken. Their survey suggests American businesses are getting better at competing on the world stage, but American workers still aren't reaping the benefits. Frank?
A private forecast out today says pay raises next year will average a disappointing 3%, just enough to keep pace with the cost of living increase. President Obama will use a speech to the nation Wednesday to spell out his plan to defeat Islamic State terrorists in Iraq and Syria. That's going to mean more airstrikes in Iraq, but no boots on the ground. CBS News contributor and former Deputy CIA Director Michael Morrell tells us what's likely to happen in Syria.
I think what it means in Syria is doubling down on the moderate opposition, giving them the wherewithal to fight Assad and to fight ISIS.
A wildfire that broke out in Yosemite National Park 2 weeks ago grew unexpectedly over the weekend. Helicopters were called in to hoist Lisa Cicero and dozens of other hikers to safety.
You can see the flames and the smoke from the fire. I will definitely remember it.
CBS's Terry Okita tells us the rain that Yosemite could use will be falling in Southern California instead, where a downpour yesterday caused problems for drivers and homeowners.
From the air, intersections looked like lakes. Garages and basements flooded as the thunderstorm toppled power lines and uprooted trees.
A powerful wind and rainstorm blacked out almost 500,000 Michigan homes and businesses. Power company spokeswoman Vanessa Waters says the damage is widespread and some customers could be out a few days.
We had wind gusts of more than 75 miles per hour that took down more than 2,000 down wires across southeastern Michigan.
The British will have another blessed event to celebrate. CBS News correspondent Mark Phillips tells us Prince William and wife Kate are expecting.
Unlike number one son George, the second child of William and Kate will not be expected to be king or queen one day. The new baby will be fourth in line to the throne. The old royal saying, an heir and a spare, has come into play again.
Buckingham Palace says the Duchess of Cambridge is dealing with severe morning sickness, a problem she also experienced with her first pregnancy. A medical bulletin is headline news on Iranian television. According to state media, which usually don't say much about the health of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the 75-year-old supreme leader of Iran has undergone prostate surgery. He's said to be in good condition. S&P futures are down 4 points. This is CBS News.
In big data, there's big opportunity. But how do you use it to get more from your workforce? With Kronos, mine mountains of information into digestible bits of insight. Understand the hidden causes and costs of employee overtime, absenteeism, and low productivity. Get real-time analysis and make fact-based decisions while they can still impact your success. Learn more about workforce analytics at Kronos.com. Kronos, workforce innovation that works.
You can make a world of difference with a little flu shot. When you get your immunization at Walgreens, you'll help provide a life-saving vaccine to a child in need through the UN Foundation's Shot at Life campaign. Thanks to customers like you, last year we helped supply 3 million vaccines. This year, let's give even more. Simply get a shot and give a shot. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Valid through October 13th, 2014. Aggregate donation up to $1 million. Vaccine subject to availability. Some restrictions may apply. See walgreens.com/get-a-shot for details.
He did the crime. Now Ray Nagin has to do the time. WWL's Dave Cohen has the story.
The former mayor of New Orleans has to turn himself in today to report for his federal prison sentence.
Voluntarily surrendering himself to the federal prison camp at Texarkana.
Loyola University professor Robert English, a former Bureau of Prisons official, says it is a minimum security facility. Nagin, meanwhile, is appealing his convictions for bribery, money laundering, and other corruption charges.
I maintain my innocence.
Nagin's had nothing else to say publicly since he was sentenced to 10 years. Dave Cohen for CBS News, New Orleans.
The federal appeals court in San Francisco that struck down California's ban on same-sex marriage is scheduled to hear arguments today in cases from 3 other states. The 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals will spend 2 hours hearing arguments on same-sex marriage bans in Idaho, Nevada, and Hawaii. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
More than 700 Quick Lane Tire and Auto Centers across this country, and she chooses mine.
I need tires, all season, and at a great price.
She wanted it all, but even she was surprised once I crunched the numbers. Soon her Taurus was ready to roll.
Say, you're good, Mr.
Murphy, ma'am, at your service, even on weekends.
With great prices on 13 name brand tires and no appointment necessary, Quick Lane is ready to serve. Visit quicklane.com.
This is Charles Osgood. What is customer service? Well, for some, it's a warm greeting or a smile or perhaps even knowing your name. But for the independent agents representing auto owners insurance, it's about more than that. It's getting to know you and your needs so that you can get the proper coverage. Really, it's better than customer service. It's customer care. Go to AutoOwners.com to locate an independent agent near you. Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Joe McGranaghan and Than Mitchell.
Welcome back to On the Mark. I am Joe McGranaghan. Than Mitchell sitting across from me. We have Kevin Herr in the control room. And you know our program is brought to you today, as it is every day, by the wonderful folks at Sunbury Motors. And did you know that every week, they entrust Kevin with a vehicle, and he comes here.
Now, wait a minute. That question's there. minds
Boo.
whether they.
Well, first of all, giving Kevin a vehicle, boo.
Yeah, there you
when
go.
they could be giving us one. So what are you driving this week, Kevin? Tell us all about it.
Well, there is a wonderful Lincoln MKS that I'm driving this
Oh,
particular
come
week.
on.
And that's what we're featuring this week because there is fantastic safety features on that. A 5-star safety features, 5-star rated, and the safety features include an adaptive cruise control, which I actually experienced this morning. I tried it out on the way in. And what you can do is you can set the gap you want in front of for the car that you're trailing. And the adaptive cruise control will automatically slow down to make sure that gap is maintained the entire time.
Will it speed up too?
It will.
Oh.
Once the gap is greater than what you set, it will actually go back up to its normal speed. So this way, you won't have an issue that if somebody hits the brakes real hard and you're in cruise control and for some reason or another you may not be completely paying attention or you may be relaxed a little bit, the car will actually adjust the speed to compensate for said stoppage in front.
Will it stop in
I'd like to not find out.
Yeah,
for
I was
sure.
gonna. I said don't test that out. Have Joe stand out in front of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Just see how that works. So what other features does it have?
Well, you also have lane guidance, too, which will actually make sure that you stay in between the lines. It will actually sense the lines on the road and make sure the car stays between those lines. It will actually vibrate the steering wheel and turn the steering wheel accordingly to get you back into the lane. So there's a lot of great safety features on this vehicle.
So if I wanted to mess with you, I could get a can of spray paint and go along your path and put little lines?
Probably could. Parking assist is something that I've never tried before. I've heard about it. Park assist available on the Lincoln MKS. You basically hit a button, it turns the steering wheel for you. It finds the spot that you can get into, actually, and it will
It tells you you can make it, you can't make it, or you.
Right. It will beep and say this is a parking spot you can get into. You pull ahead to the correct spot, put it in reverse. It will actually turn the steering wheel. All you have to do is maintain the speed by using the brake of getting it into the parking spot.
So I can't do it at 55 miles an hour.
I would not recommend it.
Well, they got to have to work on that one.
Unless you're Joey Chitwood. No.
What is it again you're driving?
The Lincoln MKS. Beautiful vehicle,
MKS.
Lots of great features. And, of course, it is a wonderful luxury vehicle. It's great for long trips especially.
It's available at Sunbury Motors in Sunbury, Pennsylvania.
You'll find it in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza. See Skip and the guys at the Lincoln dealership for more information.
All right. It sounds like a great vehicle, and you got that all week, right?
We'll be talking about it all week.
All right, tomorrow I'm going to count on you to give us something new and informative about it, all right?
Deal.
All right, our Lenape Solar email in basket is also open. The nice folks at Lenape Solar bring you the email in basket on the mark at WKOK.com, and you're welcome to call us at 1-800-795-9565. If you're in for a real treat this morning, by all means, go to WKOK.com and look for our On the Mark link and then the webcam, and you can see Than's distinguished-looking beard and my bald head. Real treat for you this morning.
As I said,
we're back on live.
Front bumper of a 57 Cadillac.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, two chrome domes.
Well, you and I.
Oh, you gave me a great idea for bump music. Now, thank you.
What? Okay, I can hardly wait. You and I, as you know, seldom agree on political matters. I wonder if we can agree on this one. Just was released today. This is from Penn Live in Harrisburg, the Harrisburg Patriot. Who are the top donors to Tom Corbett and Tom Wolf's campaigns? And the Associated Press did an analysis, and I think it's interesting. Of the $13 million that Corbett is reported raising in 2013 and 2014, donors who gave at least $10,000 accounted for 2/3 of that, or $8.8 million. An Associated Press analysis has found of the $18.1 in donations that Wolf reported over the same period, the $10,000 club, including himself, included for all of $16.6 million. No small contributors.
Okay.
Just $10,000 and up. Here's a breakdown. The top 10 donors, well, we won't go through all 10, but we'll take the top 5 donors for each one, okay? Fair enough. Or 5 interesting donors, let's say. All right.
Yep.
The Corbett's top donor is the Republican Governors Association, $1.85 million.
Let's stop and comment on each one if we have something to comment. I do. That's, I think, because the governors really are worried that they're going to lose a governor in Pennsylvania on the Republican side. So they're really pumping up one-term Corbett, one-term Tom.
I don't understand why they would be that whipped up about it. It's not like there's anything that happens based on the number of governors you have. I mean, there are certain actions you might take. But here's
okay,
one
go
I
ahead.
find hard to believe. The top donor for Tom Wolfe is Tom Wolfe, $10 million.
I'll tell you what, money does bring privileges. There's no question about that.
$10 million. What's the job pay? 125, 130, somewhere in that neck of the woods? 150 maybe?
But as a politician, you know it's not just about the salary. It has to do with the people you're supporting, your supporters. It has to do with getting things done you want to get done. And, of course, you end up with a lot of power, and there are men and women who will live on power.
I could probably get that done by just donating $1 million to one of the people running. He would certainly take me very seriously. I wouldn't have to spend $9 more million and run myself.
Wouldn't that be something that I would argue perhaps, and you just did, that perhaps money is kind of destructive of politics? Because, yes, if you give $1 million, they hear you a lot better than they hear my $25.
For $25, you're not going to be on the invite list to the governor's ball.
No.
Well, let's see. The other people who given to Corbett are John M. Templeton, Jr., President and CEO of the Templeton Foundation, $420,000. The Republican Party of Pennsylvania, $346,000. The Pennsylvania Future Fund Political Action Committee, $152,000. Al Boskov, Chairman and CEO of Boskov's Department Store, $150,000.
Yep.
Those are some of the top 10 contributors to Corbett. The others on the Democratic side, activists and lobbyists have contributed, M. Thomas Grumbacher, Chairman of the Bon-Ton Stores, $1.15 million.
Yep. Yeah. So we got two big department stores.
He obviously likes Wolf about 10 times more than Al Boskov likes Corbett. $150,000 to $1.15 million. The American Federation of Teachers and Affiliates, $610,000. The Service Employees International Union, $500,000. Pennsylvania State Education Association, $500,000. And his dad, William Wolfe, $450,000.
As I said, wealth has privileges, no question about it. You can finance your own campaign. Look what the mayor of New York did for a while, Bloomberg. He basically funded his own campaign almost entirely. It can be done. And there is a word to be said for the fact that you may not owe anybody but yourself when you get in office.
But here's my problem, is that so much money is raised and spent. So far, $31 million in the governor's race in Pennsylvania. Now, you, liberal that you are, surely could find some humanitarian use for $31 million.
Yeah, that's true, except we do have this system in this country that I would like to defend, and that means...
You do. You have a system in this country you want to defend.
We vote...
Could you mark that down, Kevin? Write that down. He wants to defend the system.
We
Go
vote.
ahead.
We vote. And we have to find out who the candidates are. How do we find out? By money spent in media, billboards and radio and television and all that sort of thing. If we don't find out, we don't know who to vote for. So it is important.
Do you know who to vote for or who to vote against? Most of the ads today are negative ads.
Actually, I read an article this morning in the Daily Item by Michael Smerconish, who used to have a radio show here.
Yes, I recall that.
And he was talking about the fact he's an independent, and he wondered how his 18-year-old son would register.
Mm-hmm.
And his 18-year-old son registered Republican, which rather surprised Michael because of his son's political proclivities. And he asked his son why, and he said, "Dad, there are more people in the Republican Party I'd rather not have in office, so I can vote against them in the primaries." So he's Republican to vote against the people he doesn't like.
Well,
isn't that an interesting point?
Well, I'm sure there are people who've done that on the other side, too.
No, I must admit, I do quite a lot of voting that says, "Oh no, anybody but him."
But you're an independent.
I'm registered Democrat. I'm certainly independent by thought.
Well, you've always claimed to be an independent. I'm astounded here.
Mm-mm. No, I've always registered Democrat because I want to vote in the primaries. That's one of those things.
Well, I think, I can't disagree with you there. I think you should be allowed to vote in the primaries. Maybe the primaries should be open, and whoever the top two people are, they could be two Republicans, they could be two Democrats, they could be two independents. They run against each other or a runoff election for the top two candidates. How about that?
1-800-795-9565. or on the mark at WKOK.com. Please do help us this week, because Joe and I are going to be together for 4 full days, and that requires your participation, or else we're going to just sit here and argue the things we argue when we have a cup of coffee.
Yes, and it is 1-800-795-9565. Feel free to give us a call. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we hope we'll have your calls. And kind of what we're discussing and where I was leading is, are these political campaigns too expensive? Should there be some kind of a financial limit on how much money is spent to achieve an office?
Of course, but we'll argue that when we come back.
We'll be right back.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know we use exclusive manufacturing partners? Our solar modules are made with American components in an American factory by an American company in Milwaukee. Our lighting fixtures are made less than 3 hours away in Philadelphia. Even our fluorescent lamps are made here in the U.S., as are our solar racking systems. We're dedicated not just to quality, but our local economy. Find out more by calling 286-1496, online at lenapesolar.com, or drop by our showroom at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury, and see these products in person.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason: Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash, plus discounts that only members get, plus 20% off almost the entire store, plus that's for a whole year, plus rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
I like my breakfast like I like my rock. Soft. So I eat Belvita Soft Baked Breakfast Biscuits, a tasty breakfast option for nutritious morning energy. It's just what I want before writing a flute solo that will softly rock every dentist's office around. Try Belvita Soft Baked in oats and chocolate, cinnamon, mixed berry, and banana bread. Belvita, mourn and win.
See the news with Newsradio 1070 WKOK's YouTube channel. Subscribe to WKOK's YouTube channel today, and we'll let you know when we post a new video. Now, you can see breaking news, watch WKOK's feature stories, and see our live telephone talk show On the Mark. Visit WKOK.com or search WKOK on YouTube from your computer, tablet, or mobile device to subscribe today. It's the Newsradio 1070 WKOK YouTube channel. Subscribe today with our link at WKOK.com.
Well, you could hardly even see him in all of that chrome. The man with the plan and the pocket comb.
Oh, very funny, Kevin. Very funny. And referring to the chrome domes of my associate and I as we sit here blinding people who are watching on the webcam.
I was given a special Christmas gift at a radio station some years ago. I've been this bald for a long time. And they gave me a great big comb, and all the teeth were broken out except one or two on each end.
Well,
and
that made sense.
Yeah,
that would work.
That was disrespectful. I booed them for that.
1-800-795-9565. We're talking about the state political campaign for governor, the amount of money it's costing. And Chris from Milton has a comment on that. Chris, you're on the mark.
I do, huh? Well, I wanted to give you a hearty tisk since I couldn't boo.
Okay. That's right. We'll accept your tisk.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of funny that you found something more trivial to talk about than the Washington Redskins.
Okay,
as far as booing, I think it certainly has its place in sporting events, college or high school. I was at a Bucknell College game once, and the opposing player, in the course of a minute and a half, intentionally grabbed one of our players who didn't have the ball and pulled them backwards, trying to make them look like the guy fell down on top of him and knocked him over. And the ref caught it all 3 times, and he got 3 fouls in a minute and a half. And if you don't expect a crowd to boo at that player's activities and style of play, I think you're seriously incorrect.
I would assume that people would boo. My argument with Joe was there's no consequence to booing other than somebody might look at you and say you're a jerk.
And if you want to get mess with Kevin a little bit, tell him he has to pay taxes on the free rental cars he seems to be getting lately. He has to pay taxes on that as a fringe benefit.
I am.
You realize that?
I am. It's called the gas.
The IRS.
It's called the gas taxes that I pay.
But that's
I'll tell
part of
you.
your income. Let's see, how much does one of those trucks cost to rent per week? And you multiply that together, and
Well, now he's got a high-end Lincoln.
you got to pay taxes on that, buddy.
Yeah, Chris, it's a high-end Lincoln now. The cost to rent that for a week is going to be a couple of bucks.
Call me back
the
after.
way of doing your election there.
Well, just let me say one thing about what you just said, Chris. Call back after the show. I'll give you Kevin's home name and address, and you can report him to the IRS.
The open primary system?
Yes. Yeah.
They do that in California, and so often has 2 Democrats running against each other and no Republican on the ballot. And that's a downside and an upside. The downside is you have virtually one-party representation in certain areas. The upside, and this is a serious upside to that system, is you get people more in the middle instead of the fringes, because people are pushed to the middle to get votes.
Well, that might be true.
Which
I didn't think about it that way.
Which is a very good aspect of that system.
Yeah. All
Not
right.
a bad one. Chris, thanks a lot. We appreciate
thank
your
you, Chris.
comments and your call. Take care.
And you know, he's right about that. And everything has consequences, some good, some bad. And I hadn't thought of the consequence of ending up with a couple of Democrats or a couple of Republicans because of an open primary, but that's true. The thing I like about open primaries is I'd love to vote for or against all the people that are going to be there, and I'd rather not be a Republican or a Democrat. I'd rather be an independent.
Well, that way, of course, independents could vote in the primary.
Exactly, yeah.
But once you got past that, I still have a problem with the amount of money that's being spent on political campaigns.
That was the original thought, and the amount they plan to spend for the year, I can't remember. I have seen the numbers. It's an incredible amount, but we have to remember the amount of outlets that the governorship has to go through to tell everybody how wonderful they are, be it Corbett or Wolf.
Well, you know, as a broadcaster, I always used to love political season and hate it at the same time. I loved it because if there were some good races, well-funded campaigns, you did well. I mean, you had a big month. Your October and November were giant months in terms of revenue. You know, so from that standpoint, I can see the upside of it. I like that revenue coming in. The downside of it is there's so many rules and regulations, and you have to walk such a tightrope to get that money that sometimes it's not worth it. And you have to sell it if the candidate's on the commercial at what's called the lowest unit rate, which means the absolute lowest rate you charge anybody, your biggest customer who might be buying 500,000 spots a year or commercials a year. You have to give the same rate to a politician who buys 1 spot.
I'm going to this will be my last day at the radio station, because I'm going to say I think broadcast media, newspapers, billboards should be required. There might be a way of recompense or whatever the word is, but should be required to run a certain amount of advertising for, let's say in parentheses, free.
Well, I would say at the lowest unit rate, you're virtually doing that. You're saying that it has to be what's called a use by the candidate, which means the candidate has to be identified or identifiable.
Yes.
That's why you hear all these spots saying, this announcement paid for by Bob Smith for Congress Committee. I'm Bob Smith and I authorized this ad.
Yes.
You know, you're only required to say I authorized this ad on federal campaigns, but so many local politicians like to do it now. I hear
sounds so good.
Ads for, borough councilmen, or I authorized this ad. Well, good for you. But
Now, I was against this ad, but what the heck. Yeah, I think there is a lot of money in politics, I think it comes from the wrong place. Now, here's a reason to have a lot of money in politics. I want our governor to be a guy who can lead. And who leads? It's the guy who gets the most people behind them, putting in money in the coffers and helping them. The other guy is not leading so well. So my guess will be, whether I'm right or wrong, we find in 4 years, my guess will be that the guy who makes more money probably is a little better manager of our money.
Well, then on the other hand, you look at the political campaigns. Again, they're negative ads, I guess, to a certain extent. But they claim that Mr. Wolf has moved his business out of Pennsylvania into Delaware to save money on taxes.
Well,
so
they claim
part
that.
of his wealth, well, I mean, he is a Delaware corporation. I don't think they could lie about that and get away with it. Somebody would say, no, he's a Pennsylvania corporation. He's located, I think, his corporate headquarters is in Delaware.
Okay, I don't know that. Do you know that for sure?
I don't know that for sure. I just said the ad says that.
Yeah. And the thing is...
And I'm assuming he'd get a pants on fire from somebody if it wasn't true.
Look up PolitiFact and see, because it may well be a pants on fire. And we don't know. Because, well, somebody does, because you can look it up in the records.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure where his corporate headquarters is or where he pays taxes. I know that during this political season, Joe, and you've watched this for years, you can't believe anything those ads say. I don't care what they say, they're not
most
true.
of them now show some sort of attribution when the commercial runs. You know, like it'll say Scranton Ledger, 5/13/14. The date will be on it, you know. So what they're really quoting is perhaps a newspaper story, and nothing says that newspaper story might be
exactly
accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, they all do it. I mean, it's
all of them. It is political. I always say to my friends who get upset during the political season, don't get upset. All of them lie now. Just remember that. Now, it's not really lying. It's stretching the truth. It's taking some things out of context. But I think it has to be looked at as
some of it's
untruth.
obfuscation. I mean,
better word.
You get
better
something
word.
that is partially true, and you make it sound worse than it is.
Yeah. That's one of my...
I always remember the Southern sheriff who won re-election. He ran ads that said his opponent was a thespian.
Yes. And that was terrible. Bad actor.
Bad actor. Bad at being a thespian. Just said he was a thespian. You know, so you have those kinds of things going on in political season, and the buyer does have to be wary of what it is he's being sold.
That was my point.
That's not restricted to one political party.
Oh no.
Dave, you're on the mark. Good morning from Lewisburg.
Hi, David.
Howdy. Hey, I think I agree with both of you gentlemen. And there's a lot I like about Wolf, but I'm very disappointed that so much of his own money is behind his campaign. I would favor something that limited donations to $20 per citizen, period. There's a book that came out back in 2003, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. Was the New York Times bestseller. Unfortunately, it's true. Our democracy is subject to the highest bidder too often.
I'm afraid so. Yeah.
Pardon?
I'm afraid you're right.
Yeah, it's really tragic. And corporate power dictates too much and so forth. The lobbyists have too much influence and control, and we're easily manipulated by them. Anyway, the other thought I had, you probably saw in today's Daily Items, Samuelson's column, recommending we increase defense spending.
Yes, I saw that.
And I said this before, and now that war fever is pretty high, you know, go in there and do something about ISIS. I think if we really want to be patriotics and responsible, or patriots and responsible patriots, we should have a 10% income tax surcharge to pay for this increased defense spending, rather than increase the debt and push it off on our kids.
What an interesting idea. Pay for something before you do it.
Yeah.
You certainly you haven't seen much of that happen in Congress over the last 150 years.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. The few people I've talked to that are rather itchy for us to get involved. When I mention this, they sort of hesitate. It's almost like, well, I want us to get involved, but I don't know if I want to increase my income tax by an income tax surcharge to pay for it. I wonder about that type of thing.
I agree with you. I'd like to see a constitutional amendment that anything after the budget's passed, whatever's in the budget, you pay for. But anything they spend after that, whether it's disaster relief, humanitarian aid, no matter what it is, that you can't enact the law unless you also provide for it by increased funding.
Yeah, that would seem, and it could be across the board. The income tax thing is all mixed up, of course, and very distorted and unfair, and too many loopholes. And I go back to Dwight Eisenhower. He had a top rate of, I think it was 94% for anyone earning over $400,000. So I would favor changing it today to anyone earns more than $400 million or $4 million. That they pay a 94% rate.
Oh, and it was you're going to drive people out of the country with that one, buddy.
It was the most prosperous time in our history.
Back during the Eisenhower administration.
Back then, a dollar was a dollar.
However, again, we're adjusting from 400,000 to 4 million, and it built the middle class. It did all kinds of things for America. And that's what America's about and democracy about, the common man, the average person, not the super wealthy, and just that simple.
Okay, David.
Anyway.
We thank you for your call and your comments.
I'd like to see more people be interested in something like, we talk about minimum wage, another way of looking at it, almost a maximum wage, when corporate presidents and so forth, CEOs, way back in Eisenhower's day, they got 40-1, the racial, what the common worker got compared to top management. Now it's 400 or more. Balance is the key.
Okay, David, thank you very much. Appreciate your calls and your comments this morning.
And he's right. We are becoming so imbalanced financially because of exactly that this is going to be a real drag on us because our middle class is being eviscerated.
Well, from going back to politics, the politicians are benefiting from large amounts of money be flowing around. I'm not going to argue that point. When you look at people who can make a $150,000 contribution, individuals, or $475,000,
they've got more money than I do.
Obviously, to have that much money and be able to donate that, obviously you're more than making ends meet, right?
Oh, yeah.
For
the
me,
kids will eat.
I'd have to think about a $250 contribution if I wanted to make it. I'd have to stop and think, gee, is this the best use I can put at $250?
And mine's $25. I mean, you can see our social status here.
But, I can understand where David is coming from. But, to say that you have to put a cap on individual initiative and achievement and that there's a limit to what that can be rewarded strikes me as running counter to what we are in this country. I've said, Mark and I got into this last week in terms of somebody called me a socialist. Matter of fact, I think Chris did when I said, I think businesses have an obligation to the employees. I don't think if you make a huge profit in a business, you can just take it and run. You have to find some way to get it back, some of it back to the employees. They helped you build it. The same thing is probably true with respect to corporate salaries. I mean, how much can somebody take out of a company? I guess what the stockholders will let them take out is the answer.
Oh, yeah. And the stockholders generally have not a lot to say about it. A board of directors says a lot more about it. And the board of directors are a bunch of really wealthy guys who are usually CEOs of other big companies.
Well, but again, I go back to what the person achieved. I mean, I don't have any problem with rewarding competence, but when you hear these companies like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac the other year, where their people were, and that what was that Pennsylvania educational assistance group that had all the problems, and the people there making huge salaries, that's wrong.
That's wrong. There's no question.
You don't reward incompetence, but competence and performance deserve to be rewarded, whether it's an employee or whether it's the owner of the company or whether it's the manager of the company.
I remember that Republicans tore Obama apart when he said, remember, when you start a big factory or a big company,
you didn't do that.
You didn't do that by yourself. And everybody jumped on it.
He didn't say that you didn't do that by yourself. He said you didn't do that.
Well, You
He
knew
said you didn't do that.
You know what he meant, Joe.
meant you didn't do
Don't
that.
become Fox News
He
on me.
meant you didn't do it.
Pretend you don't know.
So in other words, if I take his words and change them, then I'm being fair. But if I take what came out of his mouth and say it, I'm somehow being unfair.
No, if you were a person who thought about what his intent was, and you should.
You say this guy's a thinker. Why didn't he think about what his intent was and say it?
What he said was.
Why didn't he say it? If that
what
was
he
his intent?
said was the people around here built the roads. And he said this out loud. They brought in the police. The people are paying for the infrastructure that protects that factory.
And so is the
there
person.
are all kinds of contractors coming in. You may have come up with the idea yourself. You did not build it yourself.
But
ever.
That's not, what he said is you didn't do that. You didn't build that.
Well, Joe, you can make an interpretation any way you want to. Fox News does that all the time, and I'm not willing to accept that kind of...
MSNBC, Jazeera over across the table for me does it all the time, too.
MSNBC...
I mean you.
MSNBC does not change the facts, and if they do, they apologize. Al Jazeera, whatever that
Al
is,
Jazeera.
I have their news...
Have you stopped watching them?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. I watch just about an hour of Fox, an hour of CNN, and an hour of Al Jazeera every day, if I can. I don't watch MSNBC because it's preaching to the choir for me. They seem to know what they're talking about. I like to see what the people who are making it up are doing.
I see. So, in other words, all truth is broadcast on MSNBC, and everyone else has lies.
No.
Well, that's what you just said. You said you want to find out what the people who are lying have to say.
Well, that's true. I did. See, you're doing it again. You
all
understand my implication.
I'm holding you to your word,
Yes,
Dan.
you are. Yes, you are.
I'm assuming as an adult male, you said this is black. You think it's black.
If I said I was thirsty, you'd waterboard me.
If you said it was Thursday, I'd say you're wrong. It's Monday. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more of On the Mark on WKOK Radio, Sunbury, Pennsylvania.
Know what's the best thing about Gettysburg, PA this time of year? Everything. I love the farm markets here in Adams County, the fresh fruits and vegetables, and all those homemade goodies. It's wine country, too, with some of the tastiest you'll ever find. And it seems the air is always filled with the sounds of a country festival or an outdoor concert. It's a great time for the whole family, or just the two of you. Plan your visit today at DestinationGettysburg.com. And you thought we were just history.
Ready to gear up and go? That's the sound of a Kubota Standard L compact tractor. Now rolling off the line from our plant in Georgia. Maybe it's your future tractor. Your powerful Kubota diesel engine. Your standard power steering. Your pride and joy. It's a great time to make it yours with low-rate long-term financing available now. Kubota Standard L compact tractors. Built for the best things in life. Gear up and go at Kubota.com to find a dealer near you.
Mobile Deposit is here at the Northumberland National Bank. Use your Nori Bank mobile app on your smartphone or iPad to log in. Take a photo of your check and enter the deposit amount. It's a convenient alternative to visiting your local branch to deposit one or two checks. Plus, there are no lines, no paperwork, and no worries. With Mobile Deposit from the Northumberland National Bank, banking just got easier. Download the Northumberland National Bank's app now for your convenience. Try it and see how easy it is to have 24/7 account access at your fingertips.
We're used to dealing with problems, standing by you through it all. But whenever it comes to service, you find we're always well versed. At Northumberland National Bank, the customer always comes first.
The Northumberland National Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
At Northumberland National Bank, the customer always comes first.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK brings you news and information right to your mobile device with the WKOK app for iPhone and Android. With the WKOK app, you can listen to WKOK 24/7. See the news of the day with the WKOK.com link and watch our news videos, including On the Mark, live or archived feed for free. Visit the App Store and Google Play to download the free WKOK app to your phone, iPad, or tablet. Then you'll have full access everywhere you go to Newsradio 1070 WKOK and WKOK.com.
The world better prepare for when I'm a billionaire.
Yeah, let me see the money. Show me the money.
Show me the money. I was just listening to a bit of a self-promotion that was in the commercial block then.
About getting an app.
An app and a tweet and a Twitter and I thought, people who are 25 know exactly what they were talking about. People who are going on 74 are saying, well, I've heard of that. I wonder what that is.
You've never tweeted, I gather.
I tried. I could find no reason to tell people that it was time for me to have a hot dog.
Yeah, somebody sent me a cartoon the other year that said, I don't have an email account or a Facebook account, so I just go around randomly at different times of the day announcing what it is I'm doing. So far, I have 3 followers. I believe 2 of them are police officers.
I kind of like, not Twitter, but the other one, the thing you can do on your phone besides phone calling. Texting. I like that because I can text you when you're busy and you don't have to do anything until you read it.
And not only that, I can ignore it if it came from you.
Yeah, probably
Dan,
do.
You're on the mark from New Berlin.
Hi, Dan.
Hey, good morning, man. Why, I have a paper here from the Economic Policy Institute, and it compares CEO pay to the average worker pay. In 1965, the average CEO made 20 times as much as the average worker. By 1990, it went up to 58 times the average worker. By 1995, it went up 87 times. And by the year 2000, it was 383 times the average worker. And then after the economic collapse in 2008, it went down somewhat. And in 2014, it's 296 times the average worker the CEO gets. So there you can have a good comparison to what's happened for the average worker in America.
What it doesn't say, though, is how much the average worker's salary has gone up percentage-wise over those same number of years.
No, but since 2009, I don't think if anything, the workers went backwards.
Oh, my, yes.
But see, that's what I'm not so sure about. But if the average worker's salary went up, let's say, 400% over that period of time from 1965 to 2000, and the corporate executives didn't go up that high, that percentage-wise it would still be as a component of the employee's salary. It would be much higher without necessarily being a percentage-wise higher.
Dan, if I can say, I don't think Joe understands how much my salary, or let's say we're a working person, or if you're a working person, Dan, how much your salary has gone up in the last 10 years. I'll bet it's just huge.
What I'm saying here is that you don't know what exactly is in this component. Is it everybody from service workers on up, or is it factory workers, or is it CEOs, and who are they comparing it against? All employees or select employees?
Well, I would say in each case they're doing it the same.
It's all of them, Dan?
Yeah.
It's all of them,
okay.
Yes. And I can tell you, from what I made in 1965 when I started to work, my salary didn't increase near that much. And even 2009, the companies quit giving raises because of the economic problems and the economic shutdown, everything getting bad. So I don't think any of us got near what the CEO got.
No.
Not any comparison. When you take 20 times in 1965 up to 383 in 2000, no person got anyways near that.
Okay, thank you.
I remember back when I started to work, minimum wage was almost livable. The minimum wage wasn't that much below what you could work up to in a factory. But by today, minimum wage is laughable for anybody to live on. But when I started out, I could pay my rent out of 1 week's pay and still have a little left. And you could make a car payment out of 1 week's pay. But you try that today at minimum wage, you can't do it.
You're not going to be driving that fancy Lincoln that Kevin is. Hey, Dan, thanks for calling. We appreciate your calls and your comments.
Only thing is, Joe didn't hear that because I know that CEOs, and you were one, don't hear that. They want that great big salary, and to heck with the people who didn't help them make that kind of money.
I don't buy that in every instance.
Not in every instance, and not in yours.
Maybe not
certain.
Even in the majority instance. But I agree that there is a certain the appearance of a disparity between the two. But here's what way I look at it. Without knowing individual circumstances, I'm sure there are people. When I hear what Gates made as CEO of Microsoft, that seems outrageous to me. But he started that company from scratch. He made a lot of people wealthy along the way who invested in it.
Deserved every penny he made.
He worked. He worked hard for it. It's not like it was handed down to him.
Do you realize that he paid people really well,
yes,
and
he did.
He's very charitable?
But he still made a lot of money.
And
if you looked at the comparison of his salary, he's a billionaire, not a millionaire, a billionaire compared to the average worker in his company. I'm sure that that disparity, percentage-wise, is probably in the 90 to 200 range, don't you think?
Yeah, but there were people back in 1965 who were also making huge amounts of money. Remember, businessmen have always been innovating and inventing things.
All right, well, so should they not be rewarded for that?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree.
If 200% is wrong, if 200% is too much,
it's not
over the salary of the average worker.
Not if that's what we capped it at, because that
we're going to cap it. I'm asking you. That's what I was going to ask you. Do you think it should be capped?
Oh, I don't know. I don't like big government like you do, but I would say probably not. But our economics surely are hurt by the fact there's such a disparity between. Income inequality is what it's called most of the time, and it's a true problem.
Here's what I don't understand, and maybe I'm not looking at it the right way, and I'm sure you'll tell me if you think I'm not.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
But the average person brings to a job a certain skill set. Mm-hmm. That skill set is worth a certain amount of money based on what it would cost to replace that person. In other words, you come to me and you say, I'd like a job, and I'm an announcer, and I listen to your tape, and I say, he's a pretty good announcer. Here's X number of dollars. I'm going to pay you for it. A few weeks later, somebody at another station, a bigger market, likes your voice better, and they offer you more money, and you're ready to go. Okay, should I pay you more, or are you worth more because of where you're going? I mean, that's what I'm looking at. You have in this country, no one tells you you have to work here. No one says you have to do this job. You can do or be whatever you want to be. You're limited only by your own ability and your willingness to acquire additional knowledge, training, and experience.
Okay, now there's a really interesting thing. How about if I don't have much ability? I have a lot of trouble retaining knowledge.
Okay.
And though I have a skill set, it is pretty much mundane. Are you going to let me starve and starve my family?
No, but
or are you going to give me an honest minimum wage?
Well, come on. Now stop and think about that for a minute. Now you're talking socialism. You're not talking the free market place where you come in and you get a job based on your ability. You're saying that suddenly, because you can't compete, we've got to pay for you.
No, I'm saying I do that one job very well. Do you think the company owes a living wage, not a huge wage, but a living wage?
Let me look at it this way then. You have that job, and you're saying you want more money.
You're contributing to the company.
All right, but suppose you left, and I could replace you with somebody just as good at that job as you were for the same amount of money I was paying you. Why should I pay you more?
The reason is because you're a good guy, and you understand that workers are part of the business, and if they don't have a living wage, the taxpayers have to pay their bills. But I know
we do that anyway.
You guys love that.
We pay everybody's bills anyway.
You guys love that. Most people would like to make enough money so they don't have to take the card. I'm sure most people would like to work, but you can't work for minimum wage and raise a family.
Let's take your circumstances then. You're saying that you have this minimal skill set, you do this job very well, but you can't learn anything else, you don't remember stuff very well at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to pay you X amount of money to do that job. because you want a living wage. Well, suppose you have 65 children on top of that. Am I supposed to raise your salary to $500,000 a year because you don't have a living wage to accommodate the 65 children you now have?
Gee, you really do take things to extreme, don't you?
Well, I have 3 children then.
Okay.
Let's face it, it's more expensive to raise a child than it is.
I believe there's a
keep a pet in
poverty
the house.
level. I believe there's a poverty level that's set by the office of something or other in the government. That poverty level should not. We shouldn't have people below the poverty level who are working. Just shouldn't.
Should we have anybody below the poverty level?
That's a hard one to argue. I suppose there are people who like to live out in cardboard boxes, but I doubt it.
How much individual ability counts? I mean, you're saying that this person that you described doesn't need to do anything more for the rest of their life as long as they can do this one job. What if I don't need that job anymore? What if something comes along to replace that job?
That is your prerogative is to fire me if you wish to.
But
that's a difference.
If I keep you, I got to give you enough money so that you can live the way you want to live.
Either that or you're going to give me money for welfare because I don't have enough money. Joe, you pay either way. For some reason, conservatives don't understand that.
I think they understand where the money's coming from. If the government decides that you need more money and they're willing to give it to you, it comes out of my pocket too.
Do we have to do a break?
Yes, we do. But I'm not going to let you have the last word on this. We'll be back after this break with more of On the Mark. Join us, 1-800-795-9565, or email us at onthemark@wkok.com.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, got to go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason. Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash. Plus, discounts that only members get. Plus, 20% off almost the entire store. Plus, that's for a whole year. Plus, rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So, if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
I like my breakfast like I like my rock. Soft. So I eat Belvita Soft Baked Breakfast Biscuits, a tasty breakfast option for nutritious morning energy. It's just what I want before writing a flute solo that will softly rock every dentist's office around. Try Belvita Soft Baked in oats and chocolate, cinnamon, mixed berry, and banana bread. Belvita, mourn and win.
Smart Drive tips for smart drivers. Hi, I'm Riley from Selinsgrove. This year, I will choose to start off the school year right. I choose to practice good driving habits, to not drive distracted, to remain drug and alcohol free, to always wear my seatbelt, and to never put myself or my passengers in danger. I choose to drive smart and not break my mama's heart. This message brought to you by the stations of Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation, including Newsradio 1070 WKOK, and Selinsgrove Ford, proud supporters of Susquehanna Smart Drive.
We're back on the Mark. I'm Joe McGranaghan along with Than Mitchell, and on the phone is Paul. Good morning, Paul. What's up?
Hi,
Good
Paul.
morning, guys. I think you're missing the point. People could get by with less, provided that the value of the dollar is in its maximum buying capacity. For the simple reason, if you have a dollar today, the buying power of that dollar is somewhere around what, 20 cents?
Compared to what?
Compared to what it was when the dollar was a dollar.
Oh, all right. Well, when was that?
Yeah, I was going to ask, when was the dollar a dollar exactly?
Well, let's go back into the 1940s. In the 1940s, With 25 cents, you could go to a store with a quarter and buy a quart of milk and a loaf of bread and get change.
Okay.
That was the buying power of a quarter. You go to the store today and you can't even buy a candy bar for less than $1.
Okay, now let me ask you this. What was your salary in 1940? And I know you weren't getting a salary in 1940, but what would your salary have been in an average job, do you suppose?
On an average job at that time, the minimum wage was $1.25 an hour.
Not in 1940, I'm fairly sure.
No. It was. And it was based on what the government felt that the economy needed in order to keep the people working and being able to buy. Now, Ben, he's always saying supply and demand controls the pricing of the market. But that's not always true, because how does the public know when the demand is greater than the supply, which would increase the price? Because if you have more labor than you do work, then the buying power is less, because you have more people that are looking for work and can do the job, that if they don't do it, you can fire them and get a new guy immediately. Right. But if the demand is great from labor, then you can be choosy and only take the best of those that are qualified to do the job.
Well, that's basically what I was saying.
Yeah, you're agreeing with Joe. Thank you very much, Paul.
We appreciate your comments. And we have one here from Charlie. Charlie says, it appears that you don't believe in supply and demand. Workers should be paid what they are worth. If a company is paying $8 an hour and there are more applicants for the job than there are openings, why should that company pay them more? By increasing the minimum wage, we not only increase the general price level, but we also increase unemployment. If we do raise the minimum wage, why not raise it to $30 an hour? Is it because the workers affected by the minimum wage are not worth $30 an hour? If that's the case, who says they are worth $15 an hour? The market will determine their value as an employee. The government should not be involved.
Charlie, the problem is the government is involved, and they have been involved, according to Paul, since 1940. I think it was after that.
Well, Paul's point's well made. The fact that, a dollar being a dollar, I can remember when I started in my first job in radio, I made the princely sum of $75 a week, and that was in 1961, right out of high school when I was going to college, and that was a lot of money.
How much did you make?
$75 a week.
How come I was only paid $49 a week take-home pay in 1960?
I started in a bigger market, Harrisburg.
That's probably it, yes. And my salary never did go up that much.
But, I mean, but I could buy a lot with that. I bought a car. Now, admittedly, I was living at home, and even when I was going to college, I was living at home. So
that does throw a monkey
work.
Work.
My expenses were lower. But I think Charlie's point's well made, too. If there are more workers willing to work at $8 an hour, why pay them? If that's the level that the job seems to have seek.
Let's say at this fast food place, these workers are great, and that fast food place is paying the CEO of the company a huge amount of profits every week. That's the employee, and they are worth it. They're still not being paid it.
Well, what are they worth?
They're worth a lot more than $8 an hour, and that's not even the minimum wage now. I think it's 7-something, isn't it?
Well, I mean, someone has to make the determination of what the job is worth, and I think Charlie's point's well made as well. If there are 500 people willing to apply for an $8 an hour job, that means there are that many people out there who have that job and that skill set.
I can tell that after you worked for a radio station at a young age, you never had a real job again, did you?
My first real job was sitting, for minimum wage, was sitting in a trough on City Island in Harrisburg, scraping rust off pipes at the old water filtration plant.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was a political job I got because my mother was a Republican committee woman.
And it's never changed for you, has it?
Hey, I think we're out of time. I don't hear any music, though.
So, hey, we'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, WKOK, Sunbury.